All right, everyone. So Marvel Rivals is out, and we're going to be doing what we normally do for these games, which are looking at the reviews from the big places and giving our thoughts. Now, Marvel Rival, unlike a lot of the games we do these reading the reviews on, Marvel Rivals is a game we actually have played a bunch of already. So we have a little bit more insight than we might on some of the other games we do this type of video on. So for starters, we're here at Metacritic to look at the review scores. So starting with the Metascore for the critics, it looks like there's been 5 critic reviews and they've totaled out to 72. User score is a 7.6. So the users are liking this a little bit more than the critics. Now, I do know that IGN released their review giving it a 8. So this mixed score actually will be up because IGN does not have their ranking is not fully in yet. When that is put into Metacritic, that's going to go up because they gave it an 8. So we'll start by looking at the critic reviews. So Try Hard Guides gave it 100. Marvel Rivals has hooked me back into the hero shooter genre with its huge roster of characters, exciting gameplay, and excellent sense of style. Dual Shockers. In its current state, Marvel Rivals is an absolute blast no matter what role you play. Yes, it's hard to deny the similarities to Overwatch, but enough is going on here that helps it stand out on its own. Sector.sk. Marvel Rivals is not a perfect game. It does not bring novelty and innovation to the playing field. It's just a clever use of branding, and it's fun to play as your favorite characters. Sector.sk, that they gave it a 70. Games Radar Plus, they gave it a 50. Marvel Rivals wants to reinvent the hero shooter genre with its complex characters and special synergies, but it's so preoccupied with trying to be like Overwatch, it forgets to play to its own strengths. Its oversized roster also needs more balancing and more differentiation from Blizzard's stable of heroes. Okay, so this is, I'm just going to give my thoughts on it from these critic reviews. To me, a lot of these reviews are kind of missing the point. I mean, Marvel Rivals is a game. If you're a fan of Marvel, you're going to like it. Like, it has a giant roster of heroes. They all, in their own way, feel good. Now, in balancing, I'm not going to really get into the balancing aspect of it because I don't actually know if the game is technically well balanced or not, to be completely honest with you, because a lot of times when I die using a character or when I, lose using a character, I don't really put that on the game. I put that on myself. Like, I probably messed it up, didn't know how to use that character properly. And I think that one of the things I've noticed playing the game is that it depends what you're talking about. Meaning, if you're talking about, okay, can a character get a lot of kills, right? Can it eliminate a lot of different people? It is certainly not a balanced game. Not all these characters are as easily used to get kills as others, but they all have their different versions. They all have their different strengths and weaknesses. For instance, if you use Loki, to me, Loki is kind of a mix of both. If you're playing it right, you can get some kills with him, but it's not going to be as easy as with Groot or, like Groot. I mean, you just put him out there, or even Mr. Magneto is kind of easy to do that with. I think you really have to learn how to use each character for it to properly, you know, for you to properly understand it, and I do think that's part of the tough part is that certainly if you're looking at the balance aspect of the game, it's not a balanced game by any means when it comes to eliminating the enemies, but in terms of impacting the game, there's a lot of different characters that are used. And I will say this too, that every time I go into a match, I see different characters, I see new characters. So it's not like there's like one group that is only being used. Now there are ones you see more frequently. And I'm sure as the game gets older and older, there's going to become more of a meta that is the characters that are used. I get that. I just think that's basically going to be unchangeable, And just to go to this review by, and I'm only reading the description here, so I haven't read the whole review, but it, wants to reinvent the hero shooter genre with its complex characters and special synergies, but it's so preoccupied with it trying to be like Overwatch that it forgets to play to its own strengths. Its oversized roster also needs more balancing. Like, that's part of the joy of Marvel Rivals. And I know if you're out there, if you're like a an sports type guy, and you're like, that's what I'm playing this game for. I bet that really frustrates you. But the oversized roster is kind of the appeal of this game. Like the fact that you're playing a Marvel game that has as much variety as this game does, and it's only going to probably increase. That's pretty crazy to me. I think that's one of the benefits of the game. So I think this is as a free to play kind of live service type deal that's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on, certainly. But I love the game, and I think 100 is probably too high. That Try Hard Guides gave it 100, or at least according to Metacritic. 90 may even be too high, but 50 I think is way too low for sure. So we're going to be giving a review at some point on this, but I want to be able to utilize all these characters a little bit more because, like I said, right now I can't even tell you if the game's balanced or not because I don't know if I'm just misusing the characters. There's a time when I use a certain character that I think it's fantastic, I think it's the best, and then when I go up against other people using the same characters I'm not very good with, and yet they're able to beat me, that's probably more of a me problem than a game balancing problem. So, thank you all for watching.